Right, hi everybody. Today I'm with Mac. He's a manager at PureGym, former worker for Ultimate Shred. Today we're going to cover Mac's story, and then we're also going to be covering the difference between a managerial role and an on-floor PT, and also what Mac thinks is good quality in a personal trainer.
Hi everyone, I'm Mac. As Ryan just said, I'm a manager at PureGym, kind of one of the biggest commercial brand manager. I did work from Ultra Shred. It's how I started. So I started off, I was in hospital with a colon infection, was quite a large kid, came out, lost the weight, and then went straight into PT. So in terms of like gym floor knowledge, I didn't know much. So going into it, I needed to learn a lot very quickly. So the only way to do so is to be in the gym. I worked as much as I could and was able to grow up probably one of the most successful PT businesses I've seen anyway.
So how long would you say it took between... So how long did it take for you to actually get from where you wanted to be to where you felt like you were ready to step onto the gym floor?
I think it took at least a good 6 months to feel comfortable in the gym, to be able to go and approach people, because it's really hard to go into a gym, especially if you've got even 100 people there or even 30 people stood in front of you. It's very hard to go over and be like, hi.
Because at this point, I think we were still painting and everything, weren't we? Like,
Yeah.
You were literally the first person. That was my first gym, January 2020, and you was our first person self-employed to actually approach us for the job.
Yeah.
And I can still remember your interview because it was quiet. You were very, very laid back from our point, and we sort of said we were ready to give you the job before you'd even started. And then after, you still took time after to tell us your story, which I always thought, which I really appreciated, because you didn't have to do it, but you wanted to show that passion, which I've always remembered that
Yeah.
till now. And then what I want to go now, mate, from then. So how did you find it working from a private gym to start?
So the private gym stuff, I think starting off was really good from the standpoint of there wasn't as many people in front of me to talk to. So when people were coming through, it was one person, or a lot of the time it was mainly just clients for Ryan that was coming through the door that I could talk to and get to know. So that when I felt more comfortable in the space and felt more confident, I was able to go talk to people. But the thing is, when you're starting off and you're doing that sort of thing, it's really, really hard. It's really, really challenging.
Yeah.
So I think from a non-commercial space,
Yeah.
it was hard to pick up clients or go to approach people, but not having that many people in front of you made it easier.
Yeah, and we've just been saying just before we actually turn the camera on, is that when you first started, I've always been busy. Me and Callum have spoke about it before, and I've always done, and I still do to this day. I still do the same amount of PTs, mate.
Wow.
I'm not changed,
Jesus.
right? I know. I thought there'd be more to life than this now, but I know even at that time when you didn't have any clients, you still stayed in the gym.
Yeah.
14 hours with me.
Yeah, I did.
And as I said to you before, this is probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest, I've ever seen a PT grow, just from being in the gym. And also, the gym was thriving at that point. We had that sort of that new gym impact in the area where everyone's dead interested, and you get that big wave of clients straight away, don't you?
Yeah.
And you were straight on. You had no fears whatsoever when it came to teaching classes. I think you taught them. I definitely spoke a lot better than me.
Maybe, but the thing was, because the only place as a PT you can pick up clients is in the gym. You can post whatever you want on social media, you can advertise whatever you like, you can do as many deals, you can do as many things, but if you're not there when someone walks through the door, that you're not picking them up as a client. So the only person they're going to speak to is the first person who's there.
Absolutely.
So if you're there, and that was the only thing that I wanted to do, was to showcase, right, I'm here,
Yeah.
come and speak to me, so that when, for example, if someone came through looking for you, I could then go help them from a different perspective. And it was the case if we worked together. We didn't steal each other's clients, and I think that was made very, very clear from the offset.
I think I dragged you into some just quite a lot of jobs though, didn't I?
Yeah.
In terms of tech wise, I am not a tech man whatsoever. Yeah. Matt, you can't do this, could you? And you were like, did you come from some form of...
I built websites before.
Yeah, that was it. I knew you had some form of tech background, and I got you doing everything tech. Now I use Callum for that now.
Yeah.
So
Callum's
yeah, absolutely. Yes, to be like Callum and I. But yeah, on that point that you just said there, mate, I can remember when I first started out as a PT and I was working Exercise for Less. And when I was sat at home once, and my dad, they were like sort of helping me with rent. This is going way back to like 2011. And I was sat on the sofa, and my dad asked me if I had any clients that day, and I says no. And he says, "Well, we ain't get any sat on your ass there." And that's literally how I've took that approach. Probably not as brutal, but to everyone I've smoked to, all the PTs that I've ever become in my gym, and I've said to them, the ones that haven't succeeded are the ones that haven't spent time in the gym and have done a couple of things on, like they'll get their friends to come in, the PT them, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
But you just can't do that at the beginning, can you?
No.
You've got to be here.
Yeah. The one thing that I think it was actually you who said it to me was post every client on Instagram. So when you've got a client, make yourself look busy.
Absolutely.
Because if you look busy, people are going to want you more. So then when people come in the gym, they'll already know who you are.
Yep.
So when you then moving forward, people have already got you as a picture in their head. They already know who you are. You're coming in. You probably even have a client there at that point. So they're looking for you.
Absolutely.
And that was the way I picked up so many clients so quickly, was because I was just there. And there was no point me sitting on my ass at home because no one was there.
Yeah.
And I had no background in the PT stuff. I didn't know people in the gyms. I didn't know people who were going to that gym. I knew no one. So the only place I could find out was there.
Yeah.
So just sit there. I mean, I sat for hours on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at the time and all this kind of stuff. I just sat watching videos, but it was something I'd probably be doing at home anyway.
Absolutely.
But I was sat in the gym. So anytime anyone came through wanting help, I was there.
Yeah.
And there was points, I think the points where you had clients where you were like, oh, actually, I can't do this client today. Mac, do you want to take them?
Yeah.
And that, again,
You've got to be there, though, aren't you, to do
but
it?
if I wasn't there, you'd have just given it to
Yeah.
the next person, or would have just said, oh, no, can't do today, and moved it on.
Absolutely.
So I think that's part of just being in the gym and just being available to be able to do it. You've got to give yourself time to be able to move into the role. If you're there and you're expecting to be on, like the social media says, on 10 grand in the first month, it's never ever, it just doesn't happen.
No.
You've got to be in the gym and willing to just put the hours in.
And that probably takes me to another little point. It's probably off topic for what we were going to say today, but so when you first start as a PT, I know I did it. So I charged really low when I started because how I had the wrong mentality. I know now was the wrong mentality. Is how I looked at it was X amount of money, cheap price was better than nothing, and that was sort of my mindset rather than charging what I was worth. Or so I don't know if you did that.
I think I did that.
Undercharge yourself. And,
yeah.
And then having that issue then where you've got to upscale it.
Yeah.
And then people almost feel like you've been unloyal to them, even though it's more or less impossible to keep up that many PTs for that price.
I think when we were doing, like me and you were doing 14-hour days straight through all the way through, I think when you've started off, let's say £15 a client, or you started off at even £10 a client.
I did a tenner.
Yeah, you sat there and you're thinking, and then my next hour's going to be 35 quid, but then this one's going to be a tenner. What's the point?
Yeah.
So you got to start with what you're worth, because then if you go in and you're trying to upsell people, and maybe actually your time isn't worth the money that you're putting in with that client specifically.
Absolutely.
But then the next one, it is worth the 35, 40 quid, whatever you're charging. So I think starting off and just setting a base rate.
Yeah.
25 quid really nowadays is probably your base rate, and sticking at that. You'll have the odd people that maybe you've had for a while, or you've had family members, that sort of thing. But you can't be jumping and doing £10.
Yeah. Would you say it's area dependent as well?
Massively.
I think 25 for the area. Like I still only do 30 now. I know friends in Leeds PT'd as long as me. Good PTs, like, don't get me wrong, but they're £40, which is fair. But I think the area is different.
I think the area plays a massive role.
25 is lowest 10% in country.
One of them, but if you're talking, like, for example, you look at Yorkshire as a whole, you've got Hull, Bradford, that sort of area, you're going to be charging less.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to earn the crazy money, you are going to have to move to the areas of Leeds, the Harrogates, the Nesboroughs, that sort of area, and you can charge the money because the affluence of the area is a lot higher.
And the only other thing for that obviously would be the online. Me and Callum have spoke about it. I don't think personally you can be an online PT until you've been a floor PT.
I don't. I think walking in and being like, right, I'm not going to do the floor stuff and going straight online. You've got no base. You've got no establishment. No one.
The connection, I think.
Yeah, you've got no one there. People are going to sell. People sell to or people buy from people. They don't buy from just a machine online. Yeah. And if they wanted something online, or they wanted an online program, there's those out there for 10 quid, 12 quid. Instead of being the 180 quid or whatever it is for a month of PTs now. So you've got to go in with a background and have a base there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to start a PT business and your end goal is to be online, which is fine because a lot of people will, a lot of people have that goal. Start off simple. Start off in the gym, build your clients up, then start moving them online.
Yeah,
Because then you'll have that base, you'll have that steady income, and you'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, and that's last bit on that, mate, is just sort of like where we think the industry's going in that way, because you know a lot of these online PTs are actually selling what they're doing for the clients. What they're selling is what they can give to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you sign up for me for this course, I'll get you so you can earn as much money as me. But no one ever actually trains anybody.
No, and I think the main thing is, as I said, people buy from people. People don't buy because of anything. And if you're paying the amount of times, like say you'll do a training course or you've got a PT online and you're paying £12 a month, right? Which there are out there. There are courses that you can buy, apps that are 12 quid or AI generated stuff, which is going to be a main thing that's coming through.
We could do a full podcast on that. We already touched on it, but exactly, I'd love to. I could talk to you for hours on that, mate.
But the AI stuff, it can only go so far.
Yeah.
People are going to always still buy from people, and you can have as much AI in the world. You can have the best training plan there. But if you have nothing about you, people who don't know who you are, the people that are doing really well with it are the people who are on 100,000 subscribers or 100,000 likes, or they get the people who are massive and people believe to know who these people are.
I think there's a way to incorporate the AI into any business.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to get left behind if you don't do that. On the terms of like personal connection, obviously the AI is not going to, there's so many pros and cons. Like the pros are, if I'm doing a night shift and it's 3 morning at work and in the cupboards at work, there's only a pack of this or a pack of that. And I put into ChatGPT, for example, how much of this should I have to fit my macros, right? It'll tell you and it won't be asleep. Whereas if they're waiting for me to wake up, I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, so you've got platforms like that you can use
on tap,
for your clients, which will benefit you in the long run because it means that you're accessible technically 24 hours a day. And if you give AI all your knowledge, it'll be able to then portray that as you.
Absolutely.
But flip side, you need that initial contact.
Yeah.
You need that initial contact because otherwise they're going to be talking and they're just talking to a robot. No one wants that.
And I think weirdly that might be the normal at some point, but I feel like that's why the floor PT is just so important, because you get used to building relationships with clients, and without that and just the online, not speaking to someone in person or even getting that feel. I know some of the people who are selling the courses, their advertisement is actually, you never even need to meet your client. I think that's crazy. Like,
I couldn't. Looking at it from a PT's perspective, I couldn't do that.
For me, you've never been a PT. If you feel like that, if you never want to interact with but you don't even need to see them and you can make 6 figures, I'm like, who's doing that?
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
no chance. It's not for me, that.
So moving on then, Mac. So what did you go into after PT and after you moved from?
So when I left Ultimate Shredders PT, I went into an assistant manager role in Leeds at PureGym. I basically wanted, so the PT stuff's great, but at the time I was trying to get a mortgage, so the stability of like getting a mortgage when you're self-employed is really difficult. Even though I was earning brilliant money, it doesn't correlate to trying to get a mortgage.
You need at least 3 years.
You need 3 years, and I didn't have the time to wait, so I needed to move into management role. The difference between the managerial stuff and the PT stuff, there are many differences, but it all underpins this people skills.
Yeah.
And in a gym, regardless of whether people are doing online programs or they're doing whatever it is, you need that people skills. And if you haven't got that as a personal trainer, the management stuff isn't going to come, because you're not going to be able to control a team, deal with issues, talk to people, sort out any disputes that are going on. I think the main correlation that I took was all the people stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless of your training, regardless of how good as a PT you are, if you can't talk to someone or have a decent conversation or even elaborate very well, you're going to really struggle.
Yep.
Regardless of whether you're a PT, whether you're in the management role, you can't correlate the two.
And do you think to be a gym manager also you need to be have experience as a PT as well?
Personally, I think it's benefited me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm talking to my team that I have underneath me, they're all personal trainers, they're all trying to grow a business, all this kind of stuff. When I'm talking to them and I'm trying to give them advice, so they're all got their own businesses. You've gone through that, the commercial route. You can see, you understand the process. They've all got their own businesses. They need to grow it the same way I did. But if you've not got that experience on the gym floor, you've got no way of helping these people.
No relatable qualities, isn't it?
So to be able to relate to my team and to be able to work with them and help them grow and help them develop, and which in the long run benefits me because it means that they're happier at work and they're going to stay. So I think you need the PT experience. Whether you're a good PT at that time or whether you're not, you need some form of PT experience to move forward.
Very, very similar to how I talk about boxing with a boxing coach, someone who's maybe not had the experience in the ring. I mean, it's not the being at end of all. Like, I know a lot of football managers are not the best of footballers, but I feel like they've got to have had some time on the CV
Yeah.
in that area for them to be able to, because you won't be able to put yourself in their shoes.
No.
Do you know, like, say for me, I just use boxing as an example because it's easy. I understand the emotions that my lads are going through on fight day.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I'll say, look, this is how you should be feeling. This is completely normal. How you feeling? If you're nervous, whatever. Very similar for you, for obviously, to talk to a PT. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be saying, look, mate, I've been here. This is what we need to do. You need to be on the gym floor.
Yeah.
You need to be making content.
Yeah.
This is how regular you need to be here and how much you need to be turning that.
And this is the thing. So the like, it's very difficult to relate with someone. Like, I've never been in the ring, so I can't relate to being smacked in the face, like in a ring. I can't relate to that. But what I can relate to is being on no clients and trying to build a business.
Yeah.
So what I can do is help you, and I know what works for me. So, and what worked for me was really simple. Like, it wasn't hard. It wasn't groundbreaking. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to relate to the people and be able to talk to them. And again, that correlation between the PT and the manager side, regardless of what you're relaying to those people, whether it's a client and you're trying to relay exercises and technique and all that kind of stuff, or you're just trying to relay business support stuff, those two things correlate so well.
Absolutely, mate. I think that's, you couldn't have said that any better, to be fair. That's what we were saying about never being able to reinvent the wheel and just being consistent. And I can't give you enough praise for what you did for me back then. And I'd already had about 10 years experience, and you were still helping me, and you were never scared to shy away from an opportunity. During lockdowns, the first time when we actually spoke online to people on the camera.
Yeah, it was.
And we learned on the spot, and we had thousands of people across the world as well. It was like USA, Canada, Dubai, I think someone from Switzerland won it. We had France. We had a full map at one point, geographical map,
Yeah, we did.
with some colour on every country. And they're the people that we had to speak to.
Yeah.
All completely different time zones. And that's when we were first learning to speak on a camera.
Yeah, it was actually quite
Intense.
daunting.
Yeah, very daunting.
In COVID, you couldn't actually see anyone, so we couldn't actually speak to one another in person to be able to be like, right, this is what I did online, or this is what I did. All it was over like WhatsApp or a call on that day, or right, I've got this later. This is the class I'm doing. Yeah. And it was very hard to relay that. So when you're on COVID and you're there in a room and you're looking at your phone and you're seeing like just people pop up, it's so daunting.
Well, I thought it was worse at the beginning, because what we did at the beginning was we had members from the gym, didn't we? I can remember.
Yeah.
We had to do that in his house, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It was at home. It was locked down.
Yeah.
No one had ever done anything really online at that point. I don't think, anyway.
Not.
And we gave all of our members a timetable.
Yeah.
Same as the gym.
It was the same time, if I can remember
Same
correctly.
instructor, same time.
It was the same instructor. So you just taught a class that was at the same length at the same time. I remember I did one, and I have a picture of me in the snow because I did it outside. I did it in my garden outside on snow. Because I was like, oh, it's snowing, I might as well. It's a bit of fun. So I was in the garden on snow with gloves on, doing burpees and like press ups and stuff. And
I still get them come up on time. And do you know what? I can't even watch probably like these podcasts, like some of the early ones that me and Callum have done. I'll probably watch them back in a few months and won't be able to watch them either. But I look back at when you stood there waiting, and there were like 3 people on it at a time, and you're like just waiting for more people to come on. And I was just sort of pacing my room, or like picking remote up and then putting it back down. So just really dead awkward. I think all PTs fell under the same thing there. But as soon as lockdown hit and we turned it online, that was weirdly like, it was kind of like a training phase for us.
Yeah, it was.
And I feel like when it did go to that worldwide scale, we're all a lot more confident, weren't we?
Yeah, and once we got to that stage, we knew what we were doing. We could get into the room, and at that point, it was just starting to hit summer, or it was very, very hot.
Very hot, yeah.
And we were in that room. We couldn't have the aircon on or like a fan on because you couldn't hear us.
Too loud.
So you couldn't hear us. So we were absolutely sweating. We're there with those grey Ultimate Shred t-shirts on, just drenched in sweat, putting these workouts on. And then in fairness, not many companies did it actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the big corporations, like looking back, knowing what PureGym did, they didn't do
No.
that sort of thing.
No.
And a lot of the big companies didn't. So when we came out of lockdown, the business boomed because we'd been there. We'd helped these people throughout COVID. I came out of lockdown fitter than I ever had been, which not many people have said. And I think it was to do with we were just like, right, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, well, as soon as they said then you could train people outside, we had 30 people outside.
Yeah, we were on.
We were doing PTs morning till night then.
Yeah, we were.
Out in car park.
Yeah, we all bought gazebos, speakers.
Yeah, just in case
lights.
it rained, everything. We were like, there can't have been many gyms competing with that. I mean, a couple in the area caught on, but I literally feel like that was purely due to our efforts.
Yeah, it was
because everyone were coming to us, even people from other gyms, because they weren't getting, nothing back with it.
You couldn't get anything from any other gym, and we were like, right, you can be outside, so we're gonna be outside.
Yeah.
We'll bring all the kit out, we'll lift it all out every morning, put it all back on the night. Whatever we need, you can still use. We even bought like stupidly large packs of wipes. You remember them that were like 150 wipes, wiping everything down, making sure the mats were clean. So everything, no one got COVID from doing it.
Yeah.
So we kept all the safety procedures that we needed to keep.
Yeah.
But flip side, we were able to give people something that
Yeah, well,
no one else did.
moving from that. I mean, it never ended, did it? We literally hit every single bit of like criteria that we needed to be like, right, these are your restrictions. This is what you can and can't do. I can remember when we had it all taped off at classes.
Yeah.
We could have so many classes in. We had in and out. So we had one in through one door, and then one out, and then out through the fire.
And you had to go around the
So that's
side.
why every single person had a set of wipes.
Yeah.
At their station.
Yeah.
And it were all like, it's just crazy time on it.
It was mental.
Crazy time.
It was
Crazy
great. Like looking back and doing that, we were thinking, wow. But we got through it, and we came out. It was after lockdown that I really picked up as a PT because I was there during the videos.
Yeah.
Me and you did a lot.
Yeah.
Me and you did a lot of those videos, and we were there at the end of just being like, right, now we're online. Come and join us.
And do you feel like that's helped you now? Again, I spoke to you like briefly on this like before we went on camera. So how much social media is involved now? Obviously, PureGym, massive mega company, massive chain of gyms. How many gyms did you say they've got?
430.
430 gyms, but constantly, like, that's what I love is that they're constantly, no matter how big they get or upscaled they are, they're still always pushing, like, social media wise.
Yep.
So talk us through some of the things that events that they've made you do, because I know you've done quite a few with like microphones.
Yeah, so it's kind of, we push from a local demographic, even though it's such a large company. We run it as quite a small gym,
Right.
Even though we're looped in with so many people and we've got so many different things to focus on and think about and nationwide stuff and looping in with different countries now, we're still trying to run it from a local scale. So we're still trying to give back to the community. So I did a warm up for a charity run a couple of months ago, and I'm about to do another one on Sunday, and just trying to build it from there. So there's a lot that we do, and from a social media perspective, we sit and there is a social media team that run behind us, but they call up myself quite a lot, and I think that started because I can talk to camera, but that was due to the experience I had of talking to so many people on a live.
So is PureGym is it one social media, or is it like PureGym Leeds, PureGym?
So we have one per gym, but we also have one big one, like the official one, where everything goes in. So I think it depends on where you're looking and what you're doing and that sort of thing. So we do run it. I have one that I run single-handedly, but we also have one that our head office run and maintain and create content for. The best bit is, well, I think anyways, that they rope in the gyms themselves. So like I've been roped into quite a lot of the social media stuff. So
do they just give you like full access to it, or do you have to send content to like hire?
So I'm part of a team that has to approve content that goes through into these channels.
Right.
I think it's due to me knowing obviously the people in the social media team, but I go through and I approve stuff that fits with what criteria we need. Now, main thing is just showcase the gyms.
And do they do that with it? Do they give the PTs like any incentive to like give you content for the? I thought that had gone off then. Any incentive to carry on going? You know, like to post content or do videos, or
not
to be approved, or is there anything that they say, oh, can everyone get a video doing this? Or
not from the head office, but as a gym team, we run it solely. So we personally, I want to broadcast my PTs as much as possible, because that's how they're going to grow the business. It's where the people are going to go to. When they're looking at what gym they want to go to, they're going to go to a social media and see what's going on. So if they see the PTs, they're going to find one that works for them. Now, there's one, like, if, for example, if someone came to me for boxing, then like I'm going to push them onto you in that scenario, because it's not what I need. But on the same foot, you would bring me clients that you think would work better for me. So people always choose who they think will work better for them. So being able to broadcast that, but it's all on a singular level. So if the PT doesn't want to do it, and we've known PTs in the past that don't want to put themselves out there, don't want to post on social media, don't want to put different things on, don't want to like broadcast their skills. They're the ones that aren't going to do as well, because they're not marketing themselves very well.
100%. And that'll probably lead me on to last part. I'll go into a little bit personal stuff after, stuff that I just wanted to catch up on you with, to be honest, mate. But what do you think is the best quality, or what makes good qualities in a PT?
Biggest thing, and actually this is really interesting because I've been roped in with colleges, so we're actually trying to rope in qualifications now. So kind of like the Ultimate Shred Academy, there's different colleges that do this, and we want to create a course and create courses that create good personal trainers, because there's no point qualifying and then being stuck. So one of the things that you need is resilience. You have to have the world's best resilience to be able to keep going. Like, there's times where you'll have 5 clients drop off in a month and you're thinking, oh my God, what the hell do I do? I've lost $1,000 here, or I've lost over that. You've got to have resilience to keep yourself going and just keep pushing through. And the resilience, that's still number one to this day. If you're going to work in the fitness industry, you've got to have good resilience, because there's so many times in the year where it peaks up and then it drops down, and you've got to be able to ride that wave comfortably. I think people skills, as I mentioned before, being able to collaborate as a team. So even if you are working solely, like we were personal trainers that were just sole personal trainers, but we worked as a team together in building the business and building our own brands and building each other up and all this kind of stuff. So we worked as a team. I think those 2 main skills, if you can do those 2, you'll be absolutely fine. If you've got the people skills to be able to talk to people, it'd be even better, because as a personal trainer, although you are selling the training and you're trying to help people, if you can't talk and you can't relate that, you could have the best PT in the world that can't talk, he's not going to get any clients. Or you could have the person who doesn't know the biology behind it, you don't know all that kind of stuff, but you're going to do so much better because you can just have a conversation with someone.
100%. Thank you, mate. Well, on to, I've said very, very similar stuff before. I feel like the consistency, like you said, the resilience is a massive thing. It doesn't come easy. It's one of the biggest failing industries in the world. I feel like being a genuine person, being less work, client, boss, client sort of thing, the more you can actually be a friend to that person as well, and actually care about them as well. I feel like being very genuine is very important. But it was good to hear your side of that and what you think is a good quality. I feel like most people are going to be similar on that, especially the PTs that have done well. I feel like a lot of them will know, because it's not all a fairy tale.
No.
You can't listen to these people online and think like you're going to come in and be a brilliant PT straight away, because in the beginning you might lose clients as well, just because of your own standard. Which is fair to say. Like, when I think about some of the sessions I used to do, and the quality from then to now is massive, because you're constantly learning every day.
You are.
Even to this day, I still pick stuff off other PTs that have been here as long as me. I like the ideas. I like to put my own spin on it as well. So I feel like that's good. But thank you for that, Paul. But what's happening with your training now? Because I know you're in the powerlifting.
I was. I went down to Southampton, qualified for British Championships, and then I was working that day. Now, working in the fitness industry, if you're joining it, you're working long hours. You're waking up early and you're getting to bed late. That's your job. But you're doing something that you're quite passionate about. But you're working that long hours. I had to apply at a certain time on a certain day, and I missed it.
Right.
So I could have gone to like British Qualifiers, which was at the Gymshark event. It was at the Gymshark gym in Birmingham. Got everything I needed, qualified, got the numbers I needed, all this kind of stuff. And then from then on, I lost my interest in it.
Like, because you'd have had to
I had to redo everything. Re-qualify, retrain, do everything I needed to do. I had a great coach. I had a fantastic coach, Sam Hinks.
Shout out to Sam. I know Sam. Sam's guy.
You know Sam.
I love Sam, mate.
Yeah, he's great. But I had a great coach. He taught me through it. We then went onto a different spiral, and I wanted to see if I could compete at a lower weight category. Which meant I just had to cut loads of weight. Now I cut the weight, and I could still lift heavy, but it was taking a toll. Like it
Yeah.
really.
And then trying to do the hours as well. Like,
Then working
yeah.
because again, you'll back me up here. You're doing like at least 20,000 steps a day. So you're not doing 20,000 steps in the day.
Yeah.
Something's not
Yeah, rough,
right.
rough. Right then, Mac, I think we've covered everything, mate. I really enjoy speaking to you and also having a catch up as an old friend and seeing you from coming in as this young face kid has now been a manager at PureGym's a bit surreal. It's been ace to watch your journey, and I'm so glad that we can still be good friends as well, mate. So
Yeah, mate, of course.
thank you for being part of the podcast today, mate.
No worries.
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Everybody, like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week.